Superman, the Man of Steel, the Big Blue Boy Scout. Basically, the OG comic book superhero. He's been a mainstay since the first Action Comics came out in 1938. He is basically, along with Batman and Spider-Man, some of the most iconic and recognizable superheroes that the world has ever seen, and probably the reason that the comic book industry took off to the way that it did. And when you do something right, there's bound to become imitators and people basically trying to cash in on what's already been. Apparently, imitation is the best form of flattery, so without further ado, let's look at my personal favorite Marvel Superman clones. So quickly, Superman clone, basically anything kind of resembles or comes across as the character of Superman, so the cape, the superpowers, the origin, and away we go, starting with let's start with the most obvious, Hyperion. Originally created in 1969, and there has been many various versions of the character from different places in the multiverse, swapping both between good and evil. Much like Superman himself, Hyperion possesses superhuman attributes such as powerful breath, super strength, speed, stamina, durability, agility, reflexes, flight, hypervision, heat vision. He is basically Superman if you were looking at him in a different outfit. Now, Hyperion's first appearance was in the Squadron Sinister, a team basically put together to fight the Avengers created by the Grandmaster. This team took a look certain to a similar DC team, aka the Justice League. A few years later, they returned as good guys, same team, but this time they were the Squadron Supreme. Basically, a different multiverse, a different version of the same characters. Many of his backstories see him as the last of his kind, sent to Earth, similar to a certain blue hero, and takes up a mantle of Mark Milton. Two versions of Hyperion that I think are incredible are the version from Time Runs Out, who basically survived the incursions of his universe, and he ends up in the 616 universe. This man literally held his universe apart until he couldn't anymore. This version joined the multiversal Avengers and had a great bromance with Thor Odinson, who was unworthy at the time, the two of them becoming the last two survivors of 616 before basically the Secret Wars story kicked in with the Beyonders. The second would be King Hyperion, of course. Basically, this is an evil Hyperion who ended up ruling the Earth. He basically takes over his planet. The only way to defeat him is with basically nuking the whole planet, which does ends up wiping out the planet. And in doing so, this version of Hyperion searches other multiverses for universes to conquer. Next on the list, we have Blue Marvel, aka Adam Brashear. First appearing in the 2000, he's a veteran of the Korean War and has 2 silver stars to his name. So, powers and abilities. Well, Blue Marvel has antimatter manipulation, absorption and protection, energy manipulation, absorption and protection. Pretty much invulnerable. Light regeneration, longevity, meaning he can last forever. Flight, and trained in unarmed and armed combat. He's got many more flight, everything like that. He is a powerhouse. So, a bit of a backstory for Blue Marvel. Basically, there was an experiment with Sims, who becomes the Anti-Man, who is his rival. There's an explosion. Adam becomes a Blue Marvel, but wears a mask. At the time, being a black superhero was frowned upon. During a fight with the Anti-Man, his mask gets ripped, and the world discovers that their Superman, to say, is an African American, and basically there's a big fallout across the comics at this time. Adam is basically given the medal by the president, but he is told to stop being Blue Marvel, and America is not ready for an African-American superhero. And basically, this is what happened. He disappeared until the modern day, when Anti-Man decided he was going to return and defeated the Avengers. Luckily, they find Adam, and Blue Marvel is back. With the help of Mr. Fantastic, they defeat Ant-Man. Blue Marvel basically continues around. He battles King Hyperion, Shumagora. In 2015, he was a member of the all-new, all-different Ultimates, led by Captain Marvel. So Adam Brashear is back, Blue Marvel is back, and again, it's very similar to the Superman. Okay, a bit more left field in this one, but Gladiator. So, who is Gladiator? Well, first appearing in 1977 in X-Men, he was part of the Imperial Guard of the Shi'ar Empire. Now, I'm probably going to butcher this, but his name was Kalark, and he is Stanley. Wow, I definitely didn't get that right. His basically strength and power tie into his confidence. So the more confident he is, the stronger he is, which is slightly different from Superman. It's kind of like a reverse Hulk, with anger instead of confidence instead of anger. Now, while that doesn't quite sound like a Superman clone, well, his name Gladiator was a reference to the Superboy analogy, and is a reference to the 1930s novel Gladiator, in which Superman is partially based off. So variation, but still kind of based off that character. So, and he does have the cape and flies around. Okay, probably my favourite clone of Superman, and probably one who some people would argue isn't, but the Sentry, Robert Reynolds, first appearing in the 2000s in Sentry #1, an amazing story. Robert Reynolds, is he an alcoholic? Is he crazy? We don't know unless you're reading the story, but aka he is the Sentry. His opposite persona, the Void, is basically evil ultimate version of himself. The Sentry has all the powers and attributes that Superman would have: super strength, durability, stamina, laser vision, power of 1,000 burning suns is how I think they describe him. Now, the story of the Sentry is a great one. He's made the world forget who he is because he is also the Void. If no one remembers him, they won't remember the Void, and the Void won't be there. However, it takes an amazing story for the world to see this. He is best friends with Mr. Fantastic, or was best friends with Mr. Fantastic, and yeah, he basically makes the world forget about him again, that is, until he's brought back into the comics. We see him through a few different stories. They kind of change his backstory a little bit, but I prefer to stick with the original one. You've seen him a bit more. He was recently ripped apart by Null, which I think is a bit of a shame. I think it was more to show how strong Null would be. Sentry himself has done this many times to Ares, who is the god of war, and of course Carnage himself. So the Sentry is an amazing, super strong Superman clone. However, given that schizophrenic evil side of him, it is quite a cool, subtle difference. Hopefully they do him justice in the Thunderbolts movie. I think Sentry, hands down, my favourite Superman clone. And this one is a bit of a strange one, but as soon as I saw it in the comics, I loved it. Zoran, the sun god of Earth, 4290001. We're going back to the incursions now, and basically, they ended up on this world trying to stop the incursion. He leads He leads the Great Society, which is basically this planet's version of the Avengers or the Justice League. They meet an end to the 616 Illuminati, who decide to stop the incursions. There is a huge battle. The Great Society itself, for a backstory, formed when the Cretan Skulls both invaded that version of Earth, and a war broke out. As a result, a super team was put together, and Sun God was their Chalice, their Superman. During the fight, the Avengers and Illuminati managed to get the best of the Great Society. The version of the Hulk fights Sun God. Unfortunately, he is defeated. He is one of the few members who is still breathing when the incursion is about to happen. Black Panther himself says, "Hey, you'd be useful. Come to the 616. We could use you to stop this whole incursion." But he declines and decides to stay on his dying universe, and that is the last we see, basically, of Sun God. Well, it's the first and last we see, but definitely based off Superman. I mean, Sun God, Superman gets his power from the sun, so yeah, it is a good clone. And if you do read that version of Time Runs Out, definitely look into Sun God. Alright, and there are just a few of my personal favourite clones of Superman. Now, there's many others out there. Some people might argue aren't clones, are original ideas, but they're very similar. I mean, you could argue anything these days is a clone of Superman as one of the original comic books out there. I mean, you could argue that Batman's a clone of Superman because he also wears a cape. That one should trigger some people. Alright, thank you for listening to me babble on a bit about Superman clones. Let me know your favourite ones in the comments, and yeah, let's see when the next video comes out. Cheers.